If you're looking at moving to San Jose or Santa Clara County or the Silicon Valley because you just got a big tech job, where you live matters. And it's not a good thing or a bad thing. That's what we're going to talk about right now. So you live out in the Midwest or on the East Coast or maybe even Washington, and you've never really been to the Silicon Valley or San Jose. Knowing where the areas are and how much each house is and where some new developments are is going to be a pretty key thing for you to understand. So especially if you're just moving here, maybe you just want to rent for a couple of years or maybe a year or 6 months, find an apartment and then hang out. We'll show you all the different areas, and then we'll also talk about what those areas or cities would typically cost in 2022 numbers. So if you've not been to San Jose, we're on the West Coast, right center of California, but we're also on the most southern part of north of US. So we have Washington, Oregon, San Francisco, and you come back down to San Jose. So Silicon Valley is actually this whole area right here. And get it a little closer. So right here. And the great thing about Silicon Valley is you get high-tech jobs, but there's also low-tech jobs. And there's also biomed. There's all sorts of different types of jobs out there. There's support jobs as well, like real estate, but also there's a lot of high-tech jobs. But what you have here is a lot of venture capitalist money. So there's a lot of startups that happen here. But where to live, that's a big thing, right? There is a freeway right here. This takes you to the beach. If you want to go to the beach, it takes you about an hour to get to the beach this way. So what we tell people is typically everything on the west side, houses tend to be a little more expensive. You also have better schools, and you're also closer to the high-tech, high-paying jobs, which is why it's all a matter of convenience, right? So if you're working up here, that's where Facebook and Google and Apple down here in Cupertino. So all the big high-tech jobs are over here. And if you were to live over here, let's say like right by La Colina Park, that's where I live. I actually live right over here. It would take me a little bit longer to drive, get on the freeway and drive and hit traffic and get up to a high-tech job. Same thing with here. Over on the east side, houses tend to be a little bit less expensive than over here. So real quick, we can just take a quick gander at this, right? These are homes that have sold. This is just average prices, right? I don't have the high and the low. It's just the average price, the original list price, the final sale list price, and the sold price. And then the average is as to the list price, sold price. And I use this for other conversations as well. But if you look at just San Jose, your average is about $1.6, $1.7 million for a standard home. You can get homes under $1 million, but then you're going to be over here on the far east side. When you're over here, you're going to be paying more because you're closer to Sunnyvale and Cupertino and Campbell. And then Los Gatos is over here, Montecito, Los Gatos, Saratoga. Not really going crazy here, but if you look, Saratoga is 3.88 million. Cupertino is 3.02 million. Sunnyvale is 2.3. So if we actually looked at the highest is Los Altos, and I'll show you those two in a minute. Those are the two most closest up here. This is where venture capital money is. People can afford that, right? For the most part, we're looking at $4 million. And I do deep dives on each of these cities and areas so you can actually take a look a little bit deeper. Saratoga, which is a great little town, I go there all the time, averages about 3.88 million. And Los Gatos, Montecito is 3.4, Cupertino. So let's go take a look at those two real quick. Saratoga, Los Gatos, Cupertino, it's all against the hill. So everybody wants to live against the hills. If you're up here, houses tend to be a little more expensive because they're nicer. But if you're here in the floor of the valley, these homes tend to be a little bit less expensive than homes over here because you're closer to the hills. I live here, so my house is worth a little bit more. If you look at, really quick, just the different areas in San Jose, Cambrian is most expensive because that's next to Campbell and Los Gatos. Almaden Valley is the most expensive, and then Willow Glen is the second most expensive. This whole area right here is Almaden Valley. And you can actually go over on this side and it's considered somewhat Almaden, but it's also Cambrian Park. And then Willow Glen is this whole area right here. So there's a lot of different areas out here that you can go to. But remember, the rule of thumb is everything on this side tends to be a little more expensive. And then this is another median another marker, which is 87, which allows people to say, I can't really afford this. This is the next best thing. Are you going to buy something up here? No, because you're next to the airport. This line right here, that's Monterey Highway or Monterey Road, and goes all the way down. It's part of the El Camino. If you know anything about the El Camino, it goes up and then it cruises over here, and then it actually goes all the way up to Washington and Vancouver, Canada, and it goes all the way down to San Diego. So that's part of the thing. But that line right here, that's actually the flight path for San Jose International Airport. So it's a thing that people know that if you want to live here, it's going to be a little noisy. Look at Campbell and Santa Clara. And the reason why I have those two areas highlighted is, one, they're pretty close to each other, but those are the best buys, believe it or not. Even though they're $2 million and $1.8 million, they're probably the best value for the house that you're going to get in any part of the Silicon Valley or Santa Clara County today. Why is that? Because it's the most affordable, and there's going to be a tendency for that to jump up even higher in the next few years. Is it going to be today? We don't know. We don't know if the market's going to come down or go back up, but when it starts going back up and we start getting feverishly heated again, you're going to see those numbers jump up. Sunnyvale and Santa Clara have always gone back and forth. Sunnyvale became far more popular because, again, Santa Clara, Sunnyvale, the proximity to high-tech jobs. The closer you are to your high-tech job, the more willing you are to pay for a house. And then obviously you have all of San Jose, and then Milpitas, I'll show you that in a second, and then Morgan Hill, Gilroy, San Martin. I spent a lot of time selling houses there. Milpitas is up here, again, on the west side of 880-17, but so is Morgan Hill, San Martin, and Gilroy. Then live over here where houses are older. This is a 54-year-old house versus a house that's maybe 20 or 30 years old, bigger and a better value. And then from here to here is 20 minutes. You have the arteries, you can do some expressways, you can absolutely do that. San Jose grew up organically to accommodate its growth, not necessarily become planned. If you go to Boston or Dallas or any major metropolitan area that's planned their growth, you see their concentric rings as they grow out. You'll see it out there. And they created 101 out of necessity because the El Camino, which is the Monterey Road, as we grew as a county, as more population came in, we needed to grow and have a federally funded freeway, which is 101, and that's how it grew. LA is like 24-hour traffic. 101 and 85 and 280 and 87 and 880, they get clogged up. There's no doubt, but every freeway in every metropolitan area and every day gets clogged up. Is that a bad thing? It's not, because that's just the way it is. That's the way it is. Can we do better? Absolutely, but it takes time. So again, if you're looking at homes here in Cupertino, Saratoga, Campbell, you're looking at buying $2 to $3 million at first, or down here, and then when they can go to Almaden, where it's, again, the most expensive. So let's go over here and take a look at these numbers. They're the best value out of all of San Jose, in my opinion. Why? Number of growth, the fact that there's not a huge amount of inventory, values are going to continue to go up. We have seen a contraction over the last year, but we needed that to happen. And when rates go up, we're going to be more susceptible to seeing our prices go down versus over here. Blossom Valley and Santa Teresa, I'll show you where those guys are. This whole area right here up to Communication Hill. See, it says Communication Hill right there. That's included to Blossom Valley. So that's all Blossom Valley. It's a big, huge place. This street right here is Caudle Boulevard. That is the defining border of Blossom Valley and Santa Teresa. It's also 95123, 95111, 119, and then up here is 95136. And if you look at homes in Blossom Valley, the least expensive ones are right in this area, and the closer you get to the hill are more expensive. Let's say, I also have one of the larger homes in the area, so I'd say 1.6 to 1.7. An average home of 1,600 square feet is probably going to be about 1.3 to 1.4, depending on the condition. And then up here, houses are going to be a little less expensive, 1.1 to 1.2. Matter of fact, there's a house over here that's listed at 1.2. There you have it. Santa Teresa is the same thing. All the houses, remember, this is the defining line right here. This is the border, and then Santa Teresa is all here, which is fairly small, so it's hard. So one of the best kept secrets is Santa Teresa, especially along this border here, this street right. It's not one street, it's Curry, then Heaton Moore, and then Golf Course Lane. These houses over here are very highly sought after. Los Paseos has an association, and there's a pool there, so you can have an association pool, but it's also closer to the flight path. So I tend not to sell houses there. Love selling houses here and over here. And the same thing over here, Rancho Santa Teresa. We belong to Rancho Santa Teresa Swim Club, great area. So then the other thing too is when you're looking at different areas, you want to see homes that are closer to downtown areas or main streets. The thing that's negative about our areas, and including Almaden because it's so big, is there's no main street. If you went to Willow Glen, Lincoln Ave has a really well-known main street. Campbell, right here, has downtown Campbell. They have art and wine festival, they have festivals, they have music in the park, they have all sorts of great things during the summer. We don't have a whole lot of that. The closest thing we have in Blossom Valley is right here. The new Target and Safeway is Village Oaks. On Coronado, sometimes we'll close down that street and have a little community fair. All the houses, all the businesses there, all the restaurants there are chain, except for the Senrose Sushi and then the Poke Bowl. But there's Five Guys, Mod Pizza, it's all chain. The beauty of Campbell and Willow Glen is there's a lot of mom and pop, smaller restaurants, but they're classier, they're nicer, better food. So living here is great because if you're in this area right here, you're walking distance, you can go there and meet your friends, hang out, everybody knows each other. Willow Glen has a great small town vibe where Almaden has that, but you have to be part of the country club. That's really the center of where everything is. Now there's Boulder Ridge Golf Club, and that's part of a big, larger chain. To be part of the Almaden Country Club, that's where people go to meet, do business, have dinner, and relax. There's also different little bars all along the expressway, but the further south you go, the harder it is to get there, and slower it seems that traffic goes. Los Gatos has Main Street right here. You can see it keeps going. It just keeps going. There's so many restaurants and things to do here. Every weekend there's a park right here. They have a farmer's market. It's really fun stuff to do. Same thing in Saratoga. They have right here. That's where we got married, La Fondue. But they have a ton of little restaurants. There's not a whole lot of chain restaurants here, and that's what's great about it. Cupertino has is Apple. That's the only claim to fame, other than the fact that I went to De Anza College. But they have Apple, and Apple is everywhere. I don't know if you heard about this, but San Jose and Google are working together to get this whole area, develop it into millions of square feet of commercial and residential property. It's gonna be a big, huge park, and it might be even down here. I'm not exactly sure right here. The whole intention is that they're trying to make this whole downtown area. Oh, one cool thing about downtown is Market Street, San Pedro Square. This whole area right here is pretty much walkable. There's a lot of stuff going on down there, and then that's Christmas in the Park. But the thing about living in San Jose is you're pretty much 20 minutes to 30 minutes on a good day to anywhere else in Silicon Valley. If you want to move and go to San Francisco for a day, which, that's not my cup of tea, or you want to go up to Mill Valley, it's an hour and a half. If you go skiing, the closest skiing is up here on 108 in Dodge Ridge, and then Bear Valley, and then obviously Kirkwood, but then you're having a 4.5 to 6 hours, depending on traffic, to go to ski. If you're thinking about moving to San Jose, let me know. I have a little relocation package down there below. Happy to talk to you about anything. If you have any concerns, or if you want to see what's actively for sale right now, let me know. Just shoot me a DM or hit me down at vito@avitano.com. Yeah, there you go. I'm Vito Scarnecchia with the Avitano Group, powered by Compass. We'll see you out there.